1973, President Nixon asked King Faisal of Saudi Arabia to accept only US dollars as payment for oil and to invest any excess profits in US Treasury bonds, notes, and bills. In return, Nixon offered military protection for Saudi oil fields. The same offer was extended to each of the world's key oil-producing countries, and by 1975, every member of OPEC had agreed to only sell their oil. Every member of OPEC had agreed to only sell their oil in US dollars. The act of moving the dollar off of gold and tying it to foreign oil instantly forced every oil-importing country in the world to start maintaining a constant supply of Federal Reserve paper. And in order to get that paper, they would have to send real physical goods to America. This was the birth of the petrodollar. Paper went out, everything America needed came in, and the United States got very, very rich as a result. In November of 2000, Iraq began selling its oil exclusively in euros. This was a direct attack on the dollar and on US financial dominance, and it wasn't going to be tolerated.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, King Faisal Rahimullah was duped by the Jewish Henry Kissinger to sell Muslim oil in US Christian secularist dollar, which basically means that any Pakistani or Bangladeshi etc. to buy Muslim oil, they have to have Christian secularist capitalist dollar. This was the biggest loot of mankind and the greatest betrayal of Allah and His Messenger and the Ummah. This was basically done unwittingly, not by intention, by King Faisal Rahimullah. His family, it seems, who had sold out the deen, made him or persuaded him to accept this system. For what do they get in return? Full protection of a superpower of that time. So they all jumped in: Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, etc., etc., the whole lot. This is what has been going on. This is now where the situation is that America can no longer bear the burden anymore, because the dollar is weakening by the hour with the rise of Islam and these wars, and the rise of China, and now with resurgent Russia, and Pakistan now making into the fray. This is what is happening. So what do we have today? We have the two sects of Islam, Shia Iran and the Munafiq Salul, the hypocrites, Saud of Karnal Shaitan of Najd. It is clear in the Hadith. These are the rightful rulers of Shia and leaders of the Shia. These are the unrightful leaders who are rejected by Sunnah al-Jama'ah in the totality, except the Wahhabis, the modern day Salafis and the Madkhalis, who they have, that they are using in all over the kingdom, as well as other Muslim nations and even the Western nations. You have to look at their ideology. Because of Wahhabism, the Ottoman Khilafah was destroyed. Yet their intentions were pure, but if you look at the underlying reason of their creation, you will realize it is all based on design. So we have this situation.
They're fighting over control of the Middle East. In order to understand the Saudi-Iranian rivalry, let's go back to the origins of each country. In the early 1900s, the Arabian Peninsula was a patchwork of tribes under the control of the Ottoman Empire. After World War I, the empire collapsed, leaving these tribes to fight each other over power. One tribe from the interior, the Al Saud, eventually conquered most of the peninsula. In 1932, they were recognized as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. 6 years later, massive oil reserves were discovered in Saudi Arabia, and in an instant the Saudi monarchy was
by neighboring Saudi Arabia, who was ultimately also backed by the US. The civil war there erupted in 2015 when the Houthis, a Shiite group who received money and weapons from Iran, took up arms to overthrow Yemen's government, which is Sunni and backed by Saudi Arabia. The Houthis complain that the government discriminated against them for years.
Syria's war is a mess. After 6 years, the conflict is divided between 4 sides, each side with foreign backers, and those foreign backers don't even agree with each other on who they're fighting for and who they're fighting against. And now
tweeted, "This strike was aimed at deterring future Iranian attack plans. Strike came in the middle of the night." Later, the Pentagon in Syria and Iraq. He reported directly to the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. The
أود على الجريمة الأمريكية التي أدت إلى استشهاد الحاج قاسم سليماني وأبو مهدي المهندس وإخوانهما هي ليست عملية واحدة، وإنما هي مسار الشرق الأوسط.
So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So what will this lead to? So this, it seems, will definitely lead to a war between the Munafiq Saud versus the rejectors Shia Iran. So where does that leave the Mujahideen, the true believers of Allah and His Messenger? Will they side with the children of Salul, or will they side with Iran, the Shia Iran, or will they be on the fence? This is what the situation is now. But this is the sign of all signs, which will mean this nation, inshallah ta'ala, the Rafida will defeat the Munafiqs. What will that leave? Saudi Arabia vulnerable. There are little statelets here, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, they don't seem to be getting on with, and Egypt will be able to do nothing against Iran, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine. Palestine will not side with the Saudis. There is not a chance in anything, or with Egypt. This is now on the verge.
Is it just about the oil? Maybe it is. But there's actually a great story here. The royal family of Ibn Saud, who almost single-handedly rebuilt the ancient Saudi kingdom in the early 20th century. The chief Saudi export at this point wasn't oil, that would come later, but rather the sword of Islam, which Ibn Saud used first to rid the Arabian Peninsula of the colonial rulers, Ottoman Turks, and roving Bedouin.
So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So the end of the House of Saud is very, very near now. It is very close by the signs, by the ayah. Now, what will happen is when these people are defeated by Iran, inshallah ta'ala, then they will basically run around like careless animals trying to hold on to power. The 3 sons of the Khalif. This will be now like a civil war, a massive civil war. Shia is now dominant in the Middle East. The only country that Saudi now will depend on will be Pakistan, the Sunni superpower with regional power, should I rather say, with nuclear weapons, a massive army, with Khorasan. But what will happen is India will now take advantage of the situation and think this is now this chance for me to destroy Pakistan. Now seeing Pakistan with no support of finances from Saudi and all their regional Gulf allies. So India will now see the situation as a glorious chance.
But India, who was allied with Israel, started attacking Pakistan. And US, Israel, and many other Middle Eastern countries helped India against Pakistan. They all intended to completely destroy Pakistan. So Pakistan had a very large amount of enemies. But Allah protected Pakistan with around 3,000 black fighter jets. And then the war against Pakistan began. And with the help of Allah, Pakistan came out victorious against their enemies. Pakistan conquered all of India, as well as Bangladesh and Afghanistan. And once Pakistan claimed victory over India.
So, when you have a nation that stretches from Khorasan, Afghanistan, all the way through to Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, you have a massive power, massive number of peoples. Now, this is what the West will now fear, that Islam has now risen as a power. This is now when the West, NATO, will conquer Constantinople, will infuse a war in Turkey and land in Dabiq in Syria to confront Imam al-Mahdi at a later stage. So now we have a situation where India has been defeated. Now Pakistan will enter the war to save the holy lands of Islam, Mecca, Medina. This is the next stage, it seems, in light of the Hadith.
Pakistan jumped in the Middle East by the will of Allah, and they fought both superpowers using the black fighter jets. And Pakistan attacked in such a way that no one could stop them. After defeating both superpowers, Pakistan became a superpower and secluded themselves from the world. Pakistan regained control of the Middle East and Arab countries. All these areas became a part of Pakistan and they started rebuilding those areas. Then the true Islam of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam started establishing in all those areas. And peace finally prevailed in a place where once the greatest war of mankind took place.
So now we will see a situation where Pakistan is the leader of Sunnah al-Jama'ah. The true Islam will now prevail in the peninsula. But the Shia will now be a strong, mighty force in its own right, knowing that Sunnah Islam is even more powerful. Now Imam al-Mahdi will be recognized. He will emerge in front of the world. Yet people will have known him in Khorasan fighting alongside him, and he will be obviously now in the Hijaz to save his homeland. May Allah hasten quickly the emergence of Imam al-Mahdi. Ameen. Summa ameen. So now we will see the army from the east heading towards the Holy Land, because they will know after Hind, Ghazwa Hind, the big war, Imam al-Mahdi will be emerging. They will prepare their war now with Iran to make their way through that country to head towards, through Iraq, through Syria, then it seems Allahu Alam to spread between Constantinople to regain that and to plant the black flags in Baitul Maqdis. These people will be part and parcel of the Malhama al-Kubra against the Christians. but their first war will be against Iran. By this time, the Saud will have been evaporated, dissolved, and disappeared. Just like Gaddafi went, just like Saddam Hussein went, they will be absolutely eradicated. Yeah.
النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يقتتل عند كنزكم ثلاثة كلهم ابن خليفة ثم لا يصير إلى واحد منهم ثم تطلع الرايات السود من قبل المشرق فيقتلونكم قتلا عظيما لم يقتله قوم ثم ذكر قال ثوبان ثم ذكر شيئا لا أحفظه فقال فإذا رأيتموه فبايعوه ولو حبوا على الثلج فيه زيادة فإنه خليفة الله المهدي.
Right now, apparently thousands of Muslims are heading towards Mecca, Islam's holy city. A man has emerged announcing himself as the promised Messiah. Scenes of euphoria and celebration are being seen in cities across the world, as Muslims refer to this as the arrival of Mahdi, claiming him to be the savior of mankind.